In April 1995, Debbie Tay, a model and aspiring actress, died from an apparent drug overdose. Ms. Tay had been a contestant on radio disc jockey Howard Stern's New Year's Eve pageant and had been a guest on his radio show. Respecting her wishes, her brother and sister, Jeff and Melissa Roach, had Debbie Tay's body cremated. Chauncey Hayden, a friend of Debbie's, made a request to the family.
She passed away in April of 1995, and since I was so close to her, her family just gave me a portion of her remains.
Howard Stern soon heard of Ms. Tay's death and had an on-air phone conversation with Chauncey Hayden.
And when Howard Stern had heard that Debbie had passed away, he called me and asked me if I'd be willing to go on his show with her remains and have a memorial service.
When Debbie Tay's brother Jeff learned of this plan, he immediately contacted Stern's producer, Gary Delabate, and requested his sister's remains not be brought on the show. He told them that to air a show of this nature would cause he and his sister great emotional distress. His request was declined. On July 18, 1995, Howard Stern proceeded with his memorial service for Debbie Tay.
Howard was so curious to see her remains. He couldn't believe that I had her ashes.
Minutes into the service, Stern began to shake and rattle the box holding Debbie Tay's remains and told Chauncey Hayden he wanted to see the ashes.
So anyway, he asked me if I would be willing to take the top off the box.
Though Hayden said he didn't want to do anything weird, the top was soon removed, exposing the bone fragments.
All right, let me see. I can't see. Okay, wait, Debbie wants to say something.
Moments later, Stern began to handle Debbie Tay's remains.
And Howard, he picked her remains up, and he was totally outrageous. I mean, he held the remains to her picture and said, this is her rib, this is her. I mean, it was beyond what a normal person could believe someone would do.
Look at the size of this. That looks like a piece of her head.
Stern picked up bone fragments and quizzed show members on whether they were pieces of skull, rib, teeth, or other body parts. Even one of Stern's cast members, Ralph Cirilla, voiced disapproval, but the memorial service continued, and Robin Quivers also picked through the bones.
Come here, I'll glue her together. Give me that, Robin.
Her bones.
Let me see that.
Soon after the show aired, a distraught Jeff and Melissa Roach took legal action.
A few months later, we were contacted by a member of her family's attorney. The family wanted to sue us, for Howard Stern and myself, and Infinity Broadcasting, for $8 million.
In court papers filed with the state of New York, Debbie Tay's brother and sister stated that Infinity Broadcasting, Howard Stern, and Chauncey Hayden intentionally disregarded their requests not to air the program, and by mishandling and disrespecting Debbie Tay's remains, knowingly caused them depression, severe mental anguish, and other emotional trauma. Though the plaintiff cited numerous cases, including Beller v. City of New York, which states, anyone who mishandles a dead person's remains without the consent of next of kin is liable for the mental suffering resulting from these actions. Brooklyn Supreme Court Judge Richard Hutner dismissed the case on December 16, 1996, stating that although Stern was, quote, vulgar and disrespectful, he did not exceed all bounds of decency. Howard Stern, Infinity Broadcasting, and Chauncey Hayden were free from any legal action. For Infinity Broadcasting and Howard Stern, the Debbie Tay incident was one of many controversies which continually surround the Howard Stern show. These on-air antics have made Stern millions of fans, millions of enemies, and millions of dollars, and have brought the issue of the First Amendment to the forefront of American debate.
It wouldn't be the Howard Stern show if Howard Stern didn't ask me to bring her remains on. That's Howard Stern. It's what makes him brilliant, what makes him real. It's what makes him honest. That's what makes him a rich man.
Howard Stern is radio's version of a 90s Lenny Bruce.
Stern is a successful joke.
I am very serious. I am dead serious.
Howard Stern is a pitiful, rancorous, attacking moron.
I have known people of the clergy who think Howard Stern is very funny.
Howard Stern acts like a jerk sometimes. That's how he makes money.
Howard Stern is a comedian.
He's not a comedian, God knows.
Howard Stern is absolutely a pioneer.
Howard Stern, that would be the Imus copycat.
He's a brilliant social satirist.
He's not a big, giant, talented guy out there. Howard Cotton Candy Stern.
He makes me laugh in the morning and gets me psyched up.
He's an idiot.
I believe his mother and father are ashamed of him.
The First Amendment was written for people who are obnoxious and despicable and disgusting.
People have to learn to tolerate the Larry Flints and Howard Sterns of the world.
I think he needs Jesus.
Howard Stern is very funny. Howard is the king of media. Howard Stern, all-American hero. Howard Stern makes lots of money. Howard is the king of media. King of the media, number one on radio. Ba ba booey, fa fa fooey. Howard Stern, he is tall. Howard Stern, all-American hero. King of the media, number one on radio.
Howard Stern.
We're going to discuss the First Amendment. Now remember, the First Amendment. So the guys who sat down, this is what they decided was obviously of utmost importance. That's why it's the First Amendment. And most of the people who talk about the First Amendment or even write about the First Amendment probably never read the First Amendment. So I will read you the First Amendment as those guys who sat down and wrote it, and this is what it says. Excuse the glasses because it's a concession to age. Amendment number 1. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances, period, end of First Amendment. Now, we're ready to discuss it.
It uses fairly absolute language. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, and therefore it's a fairly broad right. It's obviously been subject to some constraints, pornography, treasonous threats, but in general, we are the freest country in the history of the world when it comes to expression.
Yeah, I'm a very strong supporter of the First Amendment. I believe everybody should, get to say what they want. I believe in freedom of speech very well. If I couldn't have freedom of speech, maybe I wouldn't be able to say dildo and, genitals and stuff on the radio and television, movies.
Bottom line is I'm against any form of censorship. Anything that messes with our, First Amendment rights, I'm against. Even though even my patience is tried from time to time, people do, I think, take things a little too far. But we can't censor anybody really on that level to take a chance of infringing other people's rights.
everyone else watches him, but it's like the most boring conversation. It's never ending and never seems to get anywhere, and everyone laughs. I don't really understand it myself.
You offended by him?
Not at all. It just, a lot of people talking are not, it's like reminds me of the people who just talk endlessly and bore you to tears.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
What about Howard? Love Howard.
All right, excellent.
What do you need to know about Howard?
What's your favorite part of the show?
No, any part of the show is good. Any part of the show. I've listened to Howard for about 10 years.
What are your favorite skits? Do you remember anything in particular that really made you a big fan of his?
Nah, just his attitude, his personality. Stuttering John's good. Robin's good. They're all good.
What do you think of Jackie the Joke Man?
Fantastic. I visit the webpage every night.
You do? You're on the
Yeah, absolutely. I go on E-Online, and a bunch of guys have Howard pages on E-Online, and I visit those pages. It's good, man. Everything Howard does is good. Anything he advertises sells. Howard, great.
If he advertises a product, do you go out and buy it?
Anything. Anything he advertises.
Since he put the boycott on Snapple.
No Snapple.
So you don't drink it?
No. I started drinking it because of Howard, and then when he put the boycott on it, I stopped.
Did you buy his books?
Oh, of course. And Robin. Of course.
Stern's first disc jockey job was at WRNW in Briarcliff Manor, New York in 1977. His style at this time was far from outrageous and offensive.
Hi, I'm Howard Stern, the program director of Westchester's Rock Station. You know, it's really hard to describe what makes a radio station a success. We here at WRNW have narrowed it down to a very few special elements.
While at WRNW, Stern met and listened to another disc jockey, Joe Piasek. Piasek was an outrageous radio legend whose sketches included broadcasting weather reports from inside a hurricane. Piasek encouraged Stern to drop the mellow attitude and loosen up. This advice may have had an effect. During the late 70s, Stern began to develop a kooky style that included wrestling women in front of his radio station and having a female dominatrix read the weather. But Stern had stiff competition from radio legends like Steve Dahl and Alex Bennett, whom he had listened to years earlier. Both men were doing their own crazy stunts like radio dating game and blowing up disco records in between major league doubleheaders. Possibly searching for a way to outdo his rivals, Stern began to air a brand of radio that other disc jockeys had either hadn't thought of or didn't want to broadcast themselves.
Beaver, did you wash up for dinner? Sure, Mom. Did you wash behind your ears? Sure, Mom, look. Very good, Beaver. And Wally, did you wash behind your balls?
Oh, sure, Ma. I always wash behind my balls.
Let me see.
Come on, Ma.
Let me see.
Oh, Ma, come on.
Oh, Wally, look at all that ball cheese.
Don't laugh.
This new strategy proved effective. Stern's notoriety and ratings began to grow. He continued with these extreme skits, even going to the extent of rejecting his wife's wishes and turning her real-life miscarriage into an on-air comedy sketch. Though this controversy causing radio was bringing him enemies and complaints, it was also bringing him high ratings and big money. It seemed that Howard Stern had finally found his niche.
Nobody ever came on this planet, you know, having just gotten born, let us assume, and learned how to speak and suddenly said, hey, I gotta cause trouble, I think I'll become a censor. It never has happened that way and never will. Censorship and demands for it arise out of a widespread and deep disgust with a prevailing situation.
Can you tell us what you think of Howard Stern?
Ugh.
You don't like him?
No. You're scaring me. You're scaring me.
Why don't you like him?
He's too vulgar. He's just a little too much.
I think he's crass.
He's an idiot.
Yeah, I think he's really immature and really offensive. And I think he should keep his opinions to himself.
I think he sucks. I don't like the guy. I hate him.
Because he's just an asshole.
I think he needs Jesus.
I think he's vulgar. I don't care for him at all. I don't like his comments or how he treats people or anything.
He's crude. He's crass, and I don't like to spend my time listening to someone like that.
Well, I think he has really pathetic people on his show, and that he hates women, and that he makes fun of people in a really ridiculous way and not in a fun, kind of fun-spirited way. It's mean-spirited.
I'd like to see somebody do it to him and see how he would like it.
And I also think most of the people who listen to him are morons. Sorry.
Do you think that anybody should censor his show at all, parts of it, or
Certain things, yeah, certain things.
do you think he should be off the radio?
Yeah, I do. I don't think we need our children listening to things like that on the radio. And anytime you have something like that on the radio, the kids are listening to it. So I really don't think that it's right.
If you're 14 and you're pregnant, go take care of it yourself. Don't talk to your parents. It's not dangerous. It's like picking your nose and throwing it in the garbage.
For Howard Stern to advise 14-year-olds to have self-abortions is so revolting, so irresponsible, so disgusting.
That's Howard.
That's his opinion. It's America. He's a free man and expressing himself more than anybody I know.
In many states, to my knowledge, there are laws that require parental consent. So in effect, Howard Stern is counseling children to break the law.
Should he rather be encouraging a 14-year-old to have a child? Does she know what it's going to do to her life?
If a woman, a young girl, ever did have a self-abortion at home and died, there would be an interesting question as to whether Howard Stern was holding himself out to give medical advice. In the end, although it's a close question, probably Stern would prevail.
You know, that doesn't make it morally right, certainly doesn't make it responsible, but responsible is something that Howard Stern is not, except with his own personal finances. He's a great moneymaker.
I think in life you want to sort of look at people for what they do and not what they say, but sometimes if what they say is what they're doing, then it sort of speaks for itself.
And that's just Howard's way of communicating, and I really don't have a problem with it.
I just hope his kids turn out okay.
The First Amendment wasn't written for polite people who everybody loves and who nobody wants to censor. The First Amendment was written for Larry Flint, the man who produces the obnoxious, disgusting magazine called Hustler.
You pay a price to live in a free society, and that price is toleration. You have to tolerate things that you don't necessarily like.
The First Amendment was written for people who are obnoxious and despicable and disgusting.
And people have to learn to tolerate the Larry Flints and Howard Sterns of the world.
If we don't protect the First Amendment for a guy like Howard Stern, who's going to protect the First Amendment for a guy like you or a woman like me or anybody in this country?
Everybody uses the First Amendment for their convenience.
Howard Stern? Howard Stern has made a fortune on spitting in the face of propriety, on inciting, I believe, in some cases to riot, in some cases to commit mayhem, murder.
I think he hides behind the First Amendment, and I think in many ways he hurts the people that seriously use the First Amendment to say something and not abuse their right to say it. But I think at the same time we must be careful not to make our reaction to Howard Stern rob people of their legitimate right to free speech because of some maniacal use of it by people like Stern.
You say, well, you can't make a person do that, do anything that they don't want to do, like that guy's wife who committed suicide that time because Howard was. Of course you can make people who are ill, who are infirm in one way or another. We don't know what the infirmity is, unfortunately, until now we're finding more and more genetically we can trace an infirmity. So those things that you get away with today and that you pass off and you say, well, it's my right, my freedom. What about the other person's right? What about that person if they have a genetic weakness? Oh, it's not your fault. You might have a genetic weakness too. Your genetic weakness, Howard, may be that you really have no balls.
Yeah, sure. I think Howard Stern should be able to say whatever he wants. He pretty much does anyway, except he's not allowed to say penis or cunt or anything like that. But, you know, yeah, he should be allowed to say what he wants. There's ways to get around it.
Yeah, I think it's shocking that so many people who are bringing up children in America, who are trying to prevent kinds of crime in the streets and trying to present a decent image, enjoy hearing racism, enjoy hearing homophobia, enjoy hearing anti-Semitism, enjoy hearing sexism. People seem to get a kick out of turning on their radios and hearing this kind of bigotry. And I think it helps legitimate bigotry. You know, oh, everybody, you know, goes to a bar every so often, has a drink, and may hear a bigoted phrase, but it's in the bar and it's whispered. But when you hear it on a 50,000 megawatt radio station, and you know other people are listening and laughing, it gives it a life of its own. It says, you know, that's okay. It's okay to say these things about African Americans. It's okay to say these things about women. It's okay to say these things about gays. And that's wrong. It's not okay to say these things. It's constitutionally protected. So is Nazism constitutionally protected. That doesn't make Nazism right. Hiding behind the First Amendment is confusing your right to say something with whether it's right to say something. That's hiding behind the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't tell you it's right to be a Nazi or a racist. The First Amendment says you have a right to be it. Now you have the responsibility to decide whether you're going to exercise that right in a racist or bigoted manner.
I like him. I think that he tells things sometimes the way they are.
He is straight up. Fuck you from the fuck you man.
The fuck you man.
Bottom line, I give him his respect
We
for
like
that.
how
Just
it's
like,
certain.
fuck
He talks
you,
about
I'm
ass,
who I am.
pussy, faggots, he don't give a
and
shit.
anything. Fuck that. You live once.
That's right.
My name is Gil, manager of the Stage Deli in Manhattan on 7th Avenue.
And why did you name a sandwich after Howard Stern?
Well, Howard Stern is one of the celebrities and one of the great personalities on radio, and we have all our sandwiches named after great personalities and celebrities and sports figures. So we thought we'd give him a shot.
He doesn't give a
No,
fuck,
he just,
man.
he
We
doesn't-
need more
he's not
people
talking
like that.
shit about ratings. It's like you can see that he comes from everything that he feels. If you don't like somebody, he's gonna look for him, get on him like a pit bull, lock on him, and rip their ass apart.
Hear the end of it.
And
Word
that's
up.
good. That's a
That
good
is
thing.
good.
Not some cheesy rating thing, you know?
Okay, what was in the Howard Stern sandwich?
Howard Stern was the number 7, which was the Nova Scotia salmon, sturgeon, cream cheese, lettuce, tomato on 3 slices of pumpernickel.
Did a lot of people order it?
Yes, they did. It was quite a popular sandwich.
What's the best thing Stern's ever done?
Talk about fucking faggot and lesbian parties and just have a good time with the way the world
like
is.
Hooters.
Talk about tits,
Like titties,
sex,
girls,
drugs,
pornos, every good
all
thing.
the good stuff. And just publicize it.
And did Howard Stern ever make a comment about it?
Oh, many times. He's called here a couple of times and asked about it, who's eating his sandwich, and he wants to talk to the person that's eating his sandwich and, you know, that sort of thing.
Anything else about Stern?
Do your thing, baby. Fuck everyone.
In 1982, Stern began a stint at WNBC in New York, airing comedy sketches, including one in which a Jewish man rapes the Virgin Mary. Executives poured a fortune into advertising Stern, increasing his public awareness and notoriety. Unfortunately for Stern, not everyone was happy with him. NBC chairman Grant Tinker, upon hearing Stern's program, had him fired, stating, "If that's the only way to make money, we shouldn't be in business." Stern didn't need to worry, though. A month later, Mel Karmazin, president of Infinity Broadcasting, hired Stern onto New York station WXRK. This proved to be a changing point in Stern's career. Karmazin had a strong belief that Stern's style could lead to an awesome financial windfall. More importantly, though, Karmazin had the money and power to challenge any obstacles that might stand in his way. One of these biggest battles came in the late 80s when Stern's show entered Los Angeles.
2 men became involved in his program. Al Westcott, an ex-studio musician and Grateful Dead fan, believed Stern's program was violating federal broadcasting indecency laws. Westcott began monitoring the program and became the biggest anti-Stern activist in the United States. The other gentleman was Melrose Larry Green, an ex-accountant with a master's degree from Cornell University. Green, on a daily basis, stands on the corner of Melrose and Highland Avenue in Hollywood, California, and holds up large signs proclaiming Howard Stern is God and Howard Stern for President. Green even ran the entire 1994 New York City Marathon holding a Howard Stern for President sign.
My life began July 25th,
1991, when Howard Stern started in Los Angeles.
This particular morning, what had happened was that a gentleman had called in a couple of weeks beforehand and asked Howard to send him a pair of Robin's soiled underwear.
There was nothing to do in the morning. There was no reason to wake up without Howard Stern. But now we all wake up to Howard, right? Howard rules! Who's the king of all media? Why do we wake up at 3 a.m. every day? Howard Stern, Baba Booey, F. Timmy's skull. Howard is God. F the FCC, right? Howard rules.
This particular day, the gentleman was back on the phone. Hey, I got the underwear. And they were discussing how Stern had smeared the underwear with Hershey's chocolate and soaked them in salmon oil prior to sending them to the guy in an effort to, well, we know what that's about. And the discussion that day was about the panties. And I thought to myself, you know, it's 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning, and this is rather raunchy, and it's more importantly rather adult-oriented. And I'm wondering how many kids are sitting on the school bus with headphones on listening to this stuff.
When did you first start doing the sign routine?
About 4 years ago. It's actually the spring of '92. And I thought 4 years ago Howard ought to run for president. Still think so. The only people holding up signs here are usually homeless people or people for the Hollywood Stars maps. And I'm neither homeless nor do I care where the Hollywood Stars live. So I figure I'm doing this because nobody else really does it. And it's nice. People expect it. I like signs. Signs are good.
Westcott looked into the legality of Stern's broadcasts in relation to children. He contacted the Federal Communications Commission, a branch of the government set up to regulate and enforce broadcast standards. Westcott found that the FCC's laws relating to children fell under the safe harbor rule, which states that even questionably obscene or indecent material cannot be broadcast during the hours of 6 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I don't have a problem with Howard Stern necessarily in a lot of what he says, but the time of day that he says it, and that was my issue. It's on at a time of day when it was reachable, children could reach it.
Feeling that Stern's show was violating a federal law to protect children, Westcott began to monitor the program and send transcripts to the FCC.
Howard talks about farting, about masturbating. Everybody farts. Everybody masturbates. In fact, sometimes I do both at the same time. And I believe that farting is important. And just because somebody talks about farting doesn't mean they should be fined. If you don't fart, if you don't have a vagina, if you don't have a penis, if you don't urinate, I want to meet you. I will give you my hotline number. Because everybody does it. But people are so obsessed with talking about it. I don't understand it. I mean, there is nothing more universal than that. And one of the reasons why Howard is so popular is because he'll have a girl on, a beautiful woman on, that's everybody's fantasy, and then Fred will play that farting cart in the middle. In the middle. That's funny. That's funnier than anything in the world because everybody from the Queen of England on down all day long is farting. We can't always hear them, but they're doing it. It's kind of like Con Edison. They're working. They're there. You don't always see them, but they're there. I own stock in Con Ed. That's why I say that.
While Westcott waited for an answer from the FCC, he began to write advertisers for the Stern Show. This point of attack proved to be very effective. Many of the companies Westcott contacted did not know the actual content of the program. They simply gave an advertising budget to an ad agency, and that agency put commercials on the top-rated shows in different markets. When Westcott sent tapes and letters to these advertisers, many of them began to pull their ads. As Al Westcott continued to write to advertisers, Melrose Larry Green was doing some writing of his own, which resulted in a self-published book, Melrose Larry Green, Everybody. The book is an autobiography and deals largely with his relationship with the Stern Show. Included is a list of Green's favorite sign-holding corners around the country and a birthday card he made for Stern, which contains over 48,000 signatures.
I really like the guy, and I had the privilege of meeting Howard a few times, and although he tells people that I'm a retard, I'm not really. We're not good friends. Howard doesn't have any good friends. He's a very private person, very quiet guy.
This seems to be the unfortunate truth for Melrose. For though he seems to be a dedicated fan, Stern would not allow his name to appear in the book. Anytime Stern's name is mentioned, it appears H-D-S-N.
Life is basically meaningless. That's what the existentialists say. So we have to attach meaning and ascribe values in life to things. Some people like collecting stamps. Some people like Star Trek. I went to a kite flying convention. I didn't go, but I saw it about a month ago. People that fly kites get together 3 or 4 times a year all over the world, not just the United States, flying kites. That's what they like to do. You can't knock it. I like Howard Stern. I'm not a stalker. I'm not obsessed with Howard. I don't want to do harm to Howard. I don't want to be Howard. I'm glad being Melrose Larry Green. Howard's made me into an icon. Thanks to Howard, people hate me. Thanks to Howard, people have something for them to discuss when they don't want to discuss Howard, to discuss how I have no life. Nobody has a life. Not Bill Clinton, not you, not you, not you. Yeah, look, all these people know me. Baba Booey, Baba Booey, Baba Booey.
Westcott's work had resulted in the FCC investigating Infinity Broadcasting. In a written statement to the FCC, Mel Karmazin stated that a recent study claimed that although Stern's show reached millions of listeners, there were virtually no children in this audience. The FCC saw it differently and fined Infinity Broadcasting a total of $1.7 million for indecent broadcasts, including the following.
I'll vote for Cher over Bush. Cher shaves her bush, doesn't she?
Oh.
All right, anyway, all you bitches annoy me with your phony stories and your, because I tell you, if it isn't true, I'm going to kick your ass.
It was the largest fine ever imposed in the history of United States broadcasting. Al Westcott was thrown into the national spotlight, exposure which resulted in hundreds of death threats, hate mail, and harassing phone calls.
Shit, everything was fine until you showed your ugly ass up and made a complaint. Well, Howard's coming to Las Vegas real soon, and we'll just have to have a funeral for you at the same time. Frickin' jerk, frickin' homo. This must be the loser, low-life motherfucker, Al Westcott. From the paper, it must be you. You really are a low-life piece of shit. What the fuck do you care?
I suggest you don't go making a big stink about it and dictating who I can listen to. Should I tell you who to fucking vote for?
Meanwhile, Melrose Larry Green's admiration of Stern continued to grow.
Howard Stern is very funny. Howard is the king of media. Howard Stern makes lots of money. Howard is the king of media. Ba-ba booey, fa-fa-fooey. Howard Stern, he is tall. Every morning I'm on Melrose. Howard is the king of media. Howard thinks that I'm on Prozac. Howard is the king of media. Howard thinks that I'm retarded. Howard is the king of media. Ba-ba-booey, fa-fa-fooey. Howard Stern, he is tall. Howard thinks that I'm retarded.
Howard is the king of
Though Mel Karmazin vowed to take his First Amendment fight to the Supreme Court, he quietly changed his mind. In September of 1995, Infinity settled their debt with the FCC in a way which seemed to undermine Al Westcott's mission.
This past September, Infinity Broadcasting, now they didn't say they paid a fine, and how in the world the federal government and the FCC let them get away with it, I don't know, but here's what they did. In order to wrap this up, and in order to wrap up the ability to buy new stations and for the CBS Westinghouse Infinity buy deal to happen and all that sort of very high corporate structure and buys and mergers to happen, Infinity Broadcasting, in order to wrap all these fines up, made what was termed, and this is pretty much a word-for-word quote, a $1.7 million voluntary contribution to the United States Treasury in order to wrap all these fines up in a nice big package and put a bow on it. Now, did he break the law? I don't know of too many people that are going to make a $1.7 million voluntary contribution to the United States Treasury if they're 100% right. Actions speak louder than words, and their actions say that, yes, they did violate the law.
I don't get paid for this, you know, and I really consider this to be a labor of love. And tonight, for example, I'll be home watching the E! Show at 8 o'clock, and in my apartment I've got hundreds of tapes. You don't have to see my apartment. When you read my book, you'll know about my apartment. And I love the show. At night I talk to Ponce de la Fone and Cross Country Carl, who are LA characters from the show. I talk to people in New York very often. It's not just the show. I've met many, many great friends from the show. This weekend I'm going to see Jackie Martling in Vegas. I'm excited about that. So it's really not just the show, it's a whole way of life. You know, it's great.
As far as Howard Stern and Al Westcott are concerned, if we can put those in the same bucket over this issue, I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to fight Howard Stern. I will fight Howard Stern until he is on at a time of day when his material is not accessible to my granddaughter, to your granddaughter when you become old enough to have granddaughter, and to everyone else's granddaughter and everyone else's children. Because if we do not do something today, tomorrow will never change. We have to do something today in order to change tomorrow.
What are the best 3 words you could use to describe Stern's show?
Great.
The first 3 words describe her show.
Popular.
Good.
Honest.
Tremendous.
Great. Dull.
Hysterical.
Profitable.
Sucks. Screwy. Unbelievable. Ugly. Dependable.
Awesome.
Idiot.
Bland.
Outrageous.
Shit.
Spontaneous.
Intelligent.
Combustion.
It's very stupid.
Completely fucking crude. It's
Fucking
Revolting.
Karmazin, Stern, and Infinity continued to conquer new territory. When a problem arose, it was quickly dealt with. In the late 80s, Stern entered the Washington market. His main rival was a popular disc jockey known as the Greaseman. Though Stern lambasted the Greaseman on his show as untalented and unfunny, Infinity offered the Greaseman a financially impressive deal to join the Infinity team. The Greaseman agreed, coincidentally clearing the way for Stern in Washington. Later, when Stern's show didn't work in Chicago and he was released from 2 stations, Infinity bought a station there and put Stern on, assuring a Chicago market. This type of business practice was helping turn Stern into a radio powerhouse. Other rough spots were also smoothed over. In 1994, the African American Business Association confronted Infinity Broadcasting over what they felt were racist comments by Howard Stern. Infinity chose to bypass a First Amendment battle in court, but did donate $1.5 million to the African American Business Association.
Howard Stern is absolutely a pioneer. He is the original at what he does. He is the best at what he does, whether you like what he does or not. He has spawned countless imitators. He has changed the way people look at indecency in program contents. He has challenged the rules. He's done all the things that pioneers do, you know, whether you like him or not. I think he's a true original.
Howard Stern is radio's version of a 90s Lenny Bruce.
First of all, Lenny was a major talent. And some other, well, we won't get into comparisons, but that's an important factor. We're talking about a true talent and a true original talent.
I consider both Howard Stern and Imus to be the modern counterparts of Lenny Bruce, and I thought Lenny Bruce was brilliant.
Secondly, when Lenny used vulgar language, which he occasionally did, not constantly, not the way they do today, he was always making a philosophical point. You can get I could get a laugh right now if there were an audience here by saying, boop, you know, big deal. That's not talent, that's shock.
I think Howard is definitely one of the most brilliant satirists of the modern age. I would put him up there with great comedian, social observer satirists like Lenny Bruce, Richard Pryor. He's right up there.
But another thing was that he worked in nightclubs at 1 in the morning. There were no children there. There were no nuns or priests there. There were no old folks with different tastes. So it was not his purpose to do what a lot of the scummy people today are doing.
You know, it's not hard to get a laugh at the expense of other people's race or gender or sexual preference. That's not hard. That doesn't take talent. What takes talent is to keep an audience without getting into the gutter. And I think too many untalented talk show hosts in America are doing all they can do. That is, they're just going to the lowest common denominator and hoping that from the gutter they will get their ratings. Tragically, sometimes it works.
I think Howard's been something of a revolutionary. He's sort of done what punk rock did. He's brought a certain kind of nihilism and rage and the liberation that can come with that more and more into the mainstream, into 90s America. And he's done it through comedy. I mean, when you're laughing at all this stuff, it really means you agree with it.
Nobody ever said, hey, I got to talk about the 20 funniest men. Then you talk about Robin Williams and Sid Caesar and Jonathan Winters and Billy Crystal and others. His name never comes up in that context. His name comes up only in the context of who talks dirty and gets away with it. And the gets away with it part is important.
Because the world of entertainment don't respect him. He is a radio man, basically. Okay, he's a shock jock. Don't make any, he's not a big, giant, talented guy out there. He's not the Clark Gable of the movie thing. He is what he is. He's a shock jock. That's his forte. He does it well, become a multimillionaire.
Howard Stern is a comedian.
He's not a comedian, God knows. He's not a, I don't even know what the other nouns are that you would fill in on the blanks. He is a professional shocker. He says things that are disgusting. He knows they're disgusting. That's, I guess, to his credit. But he somehow gets a kick out of getting away with that.
Howard loves me because I turn him into confetti. I tear him to shreds. See? He thinks he's a wit, which he's not. You know, he's halfway there, so he's a half-wit. Or he thinks he's a humorist, which he's not. You know, he's a lovely man. I love Howard. I really do. I enjoy him personally with time that we talk when we're not on the air and everything like that, you know, and he, you know, he says, I love you, I wish my grandpa was you, and blah, 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 you know. So, but he has me there to tear him to shreds. He loves that, and I'm sure he would love to be able to do that, you know.
But he can't.
Well, not now, but he can make $12 million a year. Morality. You know, he makes more money than Jay Leno. Yeah. That's astounding. Jay makes 10. Yeah.
How do you think...
sorry, Jay. Sorry.
What do you think about Robin Quivers?
Robin who? I don't know who Robin Quivers is. Who is that?
Robin Quivers.
Who is he?
That's his sidekick.
Sidekick? Who's Robin Quivers? Who? I don't know. I don't even know. I just heard of I don't even know. So I never heard of Robin Quivers. I don't know who Robin Quivers is. It must be a quiver for Halloween. Happy Halloween, Robin Quivers. I'm looking stupid on TV, yes. I don't know who Robin Quivers is.
All right, thanks.
God bless you.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Howard Stern, All-American hero. King of the media, #1 on radio.
Yeah, you know what really attracted me to the show was I couldn't believe, you know, the radio. It was great. I had never heard anybody cursing on the radio or like insult people.
Well, I think one of the things that Howard's fans like about him is that they don't feel he's above them, even though they worship him. They feel like he really is one of them, that he's so honest about his frustrations, etc. And I think that stands him in contrast to most celebrities who really get kind of out of reach.
I like when they say Baba Booey. I love when people say, I can't stand that. What are you listening to? You don't like Stern? Turn him off. Meanwhile, Stern's got 25, 30 million listeners. I mean, what is that nonsense? So, you know, hypocrite. I can't stand that guy. Meanwhile, they got their ear to the radio. They love to hate. So they turn it on not to understand what the guy is saying or if to hate. And that's the problem today.
Well, if I think something really is good going to happen, like, you know, something in the news happens and I'd like to see his take of it, I'll set the alarm for like 6 o'clock and I'll set 90-minute tapes on it, and then every 45 minutes I'll have it close to my bed. I hear the click and then I can turn the tape over, or I'll set the alarm and run in the other room and switch tapes and stuff. So I tape a lot of the times. And I also have the tape from my sister who lives in Pittsburgh. I mail them out to her.
Really?
Mm-hmm. She calls it Howard Therapy. She has 2 kids.
Well, one of the things that's always I found kind of remarkable about Stern is that for someone who
deals so much in this shock value. I think it's remarkable that he's been able to hold on to his audience for as long as he has, considering the fact that he's really simply recycling a fairly small bag of tricks.
I suppose he made the accidental discovery that the more revolting his language, the more disgusting his exhibitions of taste or tastelessness were, the higher his ratings got. It's probably that simple. Ratings equal money.
He makes people happy. He's a good influence.
It's the same basic ideas that seem to get turned over and over again on his show, but for some reason his audience never seems to get tired of, you know, of the sexist jokes, of a lot of his kind of bathroom humor. There just never seems to be a saturation point with his audience, or at least with some of his audience.
I think Howard Stern is so popular because he can relate to the public. A lot of people are, you know, freaks, I guess, and just average people, and they can relate to what he says and what he does, you know.
I think the place he could really cross over is television. I mean, who's more fun to listen to? Howard or Leno or Letterman? I mean, those guys are really so dried up, so mired in formula, so predictable now, that I think if you put Howard on opposite those guys, he'd go through the roof.
Like H.L. Mencken said, nobody ever went broke underestimating the intelligence of the American public. It's true. It's absolutely true.
As it happens in radio, if you play the good guy on the radio, I think too good of a guy, sometimes the audience realizes that they can tune out for 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 weeks or 5 years, and they don't feel they're really missing anything. But if you have an abrasive, a bad guy, a bad boy on the radio, there's a reason for the audience to, an extra reason for the audience to tune in, because they don't know what's going to happen next. Is this going to be the day when that host really says something truly outrageous or really goes over the top? And I think that's one of the reasons why people tune in to Howard. He's doing this tightrope act on the air, and they never know when he's going to really go over the edge, and they want to be there when that happens.
Howard Stern, all-American hero, king of the media, #1 on radio.
Can you tell us how you feel about Howard Stern?
I think that he's very poignant, and he has a lot of neat things to say about politics.
Anything else?
I think that he showed that in his book he is very intelligent.
If you could say one thing to Howard Stern, what would it be?
That I think you are poignant.
I met the guy. He's quite an interesting character. He likes to stir things up. He's here for the shock. He can be obnoxious at times, but gets you thinking. So.
When did you meet him?
I met him when I was back in New York City around June 18th. So.
If you could say one thing to him, what would it be?
Howard, I love you, baby.
What are the best 3 words you could use to describe his show?
His show? I can think one, controversial for sure. Shock, obnoxious sometimes, but hey, it pays my bills. All the people that watch him, they love porno, so what can I say? I have to love those guys.
He's a prick. I love him. I've been listening to him for years, ever since New York. I live in LA now. Ganji's a fat prick. I played football with him. He's a fat prick. He used to run around the field with garbage bags on to lose weight before games, and everybody's cool. Jackie's cool. Fred's cool. Robin's even cool, even though she gets on my nerves. But
why does she get on your nerves?
She's always fucking talking this and that, but she's cool. She's cool. Yeah, what else you want to ask me?
What are the best 3 words you could use to describe his show?
Intellectual and poignant and comical.
What's your name?
Randy Storm.
And what films have you starred in?
I just got finished doing Dukes of Anal. Let's see, we just finished one, Hot Western Days and Nude Office Workers. So I'm also on Playboy right now with Spice Channel and American Sweethearts. So.
Yeah, how do you feel about Melrose?
Melrose? He's fucking cool. He's a lunatic. He's just got a lot of time, and he hates everybody. I seen him abusing some French people at the coffee shop one day, and he's a fucking nut. Oh, and he was renting pornos in the fucking shop down the block, screaming about ass videos and shit to the guy working there. He's cool. Melrose is cool. Yeah, fuck OJ. He's a murderer, and
If you could say one thing to Howard, what would it be?
one thing to Howard? Fuck bitches. How do you like that?
What are your favorite parts of his show?
I like when he talks about the people in Washington and when he makes fun of them.
What do you think about Robin Quivers?
I think she's poignant.
Thank you. Would you like to say something to the people that listen to Howard Stern?
You guys are great. Keep buying the porn. Something sexy? Woo! Let's see. I think it's like a show on public places here. Actually, I'm having sex in there somewhere.
Thanks. Can you give us the best 3 words to describe Stern's show?
Entertaining, funny, and interesting.
What effect would it have on your life if the show went off the air?
If Howard Show went off the air, I don't know. I've been listening to his show for probably 10 years now. If his show went off the air, I don't know. I've been listening to it since he was on in the afternoons in New York. If his show went off the air, I don't know what I'd do, man. I just dig it every morning, you know what I'm saying? Out here, it's cool. You get it for 7 hours. If his show went off the air, I don't know what I'd do, man. I definitely wouldn't listen to any of those other programs, and they play bullshit music in the morning. I don't know what I would do, man. Howard got to stay on the air. That's all I got to say.
Stern's first foray into politics came in 1992 when he backed New York Republican Senator Alphonse D'Amato. Stern said he hoped if he endorsed D'Amato on his radio show, the senator would go to bat for him against the FCC. Oddly enough, a few weeks after winning the election, Alphonse D'Amato delivered a speech on the Senate floor claiming the FCC was too harsh on Stern. Stern's next alliance was with Governor Christine Whitman. Whitman promised Stern she would name a highway rest stop in his honor after Stern said he would endorse her on his radio show. Stern assured her she would win, suggested she wear a thong at the inauguration, and told his listeners he'd, quote, do her in a second, and that she has a tight ass and big cans. Whitman won, but this honoring of Stern caused public outrage, and the plaque was quietly installed on March 21, 1995, when both Whitman and Stern were on vacation. Stern also has an ongoing relationship with Pennsylvania's Republican Senator Arlen Specter. Specter heads the government committee which appropriates funding to the FCC. Specter has already voiced disapproval of the FCC regarding their treatment of Stern, and Stern has said he'll back Specter in the next election. But Howard Stern is best known in the political world for his run on the Libertarian ticket for New York State Governor in 1994, a run many believed at first was a joke.
Is Howard Stern a serious candidate? And I'm here to tell you I am very serious. I am dead serious.
In the weeks preceding the Libertarian Convention, Stern, using his rather powerful, medium, his radio program, began to call on his listeners and his fans to descend on Albany for the convention, to register as libertarians so that they could vote in the Libertarian primary, and to come up in a big show of support, which they did.
As I look out at all of you, I realize one thing. It's frightening that all of you get to vote. Extremely frightening. No, listen to me. Are all of you coming to Albany? Who do you want for governor? And is it because we want the death penalty?
The people who I talked to there who had come up, most of them were from the tri-state area, from New York, from the boroughs, a lot of Queens, a lot of meathead, give me my beer, my football, my Howard, and I'm happy kind of guys were the people who were the real hardcore constituents, the fan base who showed up, not just the listeners who are, you know, idly listening to Howard on their way to work. But these are the hardcore, for whom there is no greater God than Howard.
Yeah, in 1994, he called me up, asked me if I could second the nomination of when he was running for governor. So I went up and I inaugurated him, and Fred the Elephant Boy inaugurated him first, and then I inaugurated him second.
Howard Stern for governor. Howard Stern for governor.
On his way to Albany, Stern made 2 stops in upstate New York to meet the public. One at a go-go bar called Goldfinger's, and the other outside a Burger King. He arrived in Albany soon after.
When Stern showed up, what can I say? There was hundreds, if not thousands, of people in the parking lot, probably the largest crowd that had ever gathered at this place.
Am I a serious candidate? You're damn right I am. We will have a death penalty. We will have no more toll booths slowing us down. We will fix the roads. And then I'll get the hell out of office before I can screw anything up.
And included in the group was the entirety of the Albany Press Corps, international press, national press, all there to cover the spectacle of Stern, who, when he got off the bus in typical form, was escorted by several strippers and his usual coterie of joke tellers and fixers. I guess he would have, being that he was a pol, he would have had his fixers in his cabinet. As I recall, he had his button that he wore said small penis, big ideas, so he was definitely playing up his lack of a manly man's unit that day. And the whole thing was just a big festival out in the parking lot. Meanwhile,
He's a great American.
Inside the convention hall, you know, there was a lot of chairs. There was rows of chairs, and like Howard was all the way in the back with Gary and Robin and Fred and Jackie and John. They were like setting the radio table all the way in the back. And then in the center was all the chairs. And up front, where I inaugurated them, there was a stage. And that's where I pulled the dildo out and embarrassed the libertarians. But, you know, I became very famous for it.
it was the very epitome of a circus-like atmosphere. I mean, you had strippers running up and down the aisles. You had, you know, geeky, libertarian, you know, political types not knowing what the hell was going on, being very upset. You had people standing up and baba-booing the afternoon away. And you had, you know, Stern at the center of all of this, the king man, you know, orchestrating this incredible publicity stunt for the Libertarian Party, and not coincidentally boosting his ratings and boosting his profile across the state, and I guess on the national political scene too. I mean, as I recall, his his platform was just the death penalty, and he's going to give the death penalty and then turn the reins over to his running mate, and that was that, and it was a big party with lots of strippers.
Yeah, I think he always has a lot of nice-looking chicks around him. I think there's always a lot of strippers, you know, strippers, models, chicks from other countries and stuff. You know, everybody's real excited about it.
He's a great American.
The Libertarian Party usually, in my understanding, voted paper ballots and counted the ballots and picked a nominee out of the 4 or 5 people who were running after they gave their speeches. Because this was such an overwhelmingly Stern, you know, dominated event, they, excuse me, they dispensed with this formality in there and went with a voice vote, which, of course, Stern blew everybody out of the water.
Howard Stern!
But the people, some of the nominees particularly, were extremely upset by this breach of protocol, and you know, were storming around in all sorts of different states of distress, much to the amusement of all the Stern people there, who took a great deal of joy in booing them and making them feel even worse than they already did by letting this fool take over their party.
During the speech, I said, "Who wants to see my dildo?" And everybody was like, "Yeah, I want to see it." And I pulled out this dildo and I held it up, and like all the libertarians were all embarrassed. My dildo! I got a dildo! And some of them actually ran out of the room.
After the convention, Stern, as I recall, did some campaigning, which involved going to, I think, some more strip clubs, and and then they went back down to New York very quickly. I think he said some pretty disparaging things about Albany, and then got the hell out of there.
What was the best moment you had up in Albany at the Libertarian Convention, besides the dildo thing?
Well, I guess just hanging out at night, going from hotel room to hotel room, meeting all the different people, hanging out, going to lunch, dinner, breakfast, just associating with all the different wackos and celebrities.
And in the weeks that followed, as I recall, the campaign sort of floundered because now that he had gotten the nod, okay, the joke's over. Now you're the gubernatorial candidate. What are you going to offer? And all he offered was the death penalty and turning it over to his running mate after he was done. But he of course, loved all the attention, and ultimately that is what this was all about. It was about ratings and about keeping his name out there, and big publicity stunt for him.
He's a great American.
Shortly after Stern received the nomination, a stripper from upstate New York decided to show her support by removing her top and climbing the steps of the Capitol building in Albany, holding a Howard Stern for Governor sign. A crowd gathered, but their reasons for viewing this event may have been more than just political.
I think they probably want to see my breasts, but...
Oh, I'm sure the breasts did it all, Hell, that's why I came.
With the nomination under his belt, Stern was forced by law to make his address and personal finances public. He filed a false home address with the New York State Election Committee, stating he lived in this home in Plainview, New York. But the documents he couldn't falsify were his personal finances. He refused to disclose these and dropped out of the race on August 4th, 1994. Though he told the Libertarians he would endorse their choice, Stern changed his mind and backed Republican George Pataki, who was soon a guest on Stern's show. Stern told Pataki's wife, Libby, he wanted to tongue-kiss her at the inauguration. Pataki won, gave Stern a prime seat at the inauguration, and invited Stern back to the governor's mansion.
What do you think would have happened if Howard Stern would have become governor of New York? How do you think that would have all worked out for the people of New York?
Yeah, I think it would have been a great thing because, he understands how the people think, and everybody would have had a good time, and it would have been very cool. I would have enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I think it's great that a guy can speak his mind, say what he wants to, and get paid for it. I really like to listen to him. If I could tell everyone how I felt, hey, I'd do it.
He's the absolute worst.
Why is that?
Because I don't like his show and I don't like his remarks. I think he's a chauvinist. And I think his show stinks, in plain English. I just don't like his show.
I like all of it. I like hearing him dog people and harass people, and when people get called up on the phone, and he just tells it like it is and gives it people a hard time for it. Really enjoy it.
The whole show offends me. I think he's vulgar. I think he's rude. And I think he's for less intellectual people. People without minds. That's what people listen to Stern.
Listen every morning to him and Robin. Can't wait to see who's on and go to work and talk about it.
I just don't like his show. I think he's a pig.
You think he should be off the air?
Yes, definitely.
If you could say one thing to Howard, what would it be?
Keep on going. He's great. Keep up the good work.
Stern on a former boss. I hope you're in a men's room in a gas station and some guy comes in, a very effeminate guy but powerful, pushes you over the sink, pulls your pants down and gives you the hot beef injection and delivers the deadly AIDS into your system. Stern then continued saying that he wished the boss would bleed into his children's cereal, also infecting them with the virus.
At that point, Howard Stern is not a danger. Howard Stern is a pitiful, rancorous, attacking moron. The dangerous person is the person who has the responsibility to fill that time slot with an entertaining personality and allows that person to say those things. The dangerous person has to be Mel Karmazin then. He has to be the one who has abused his right to express what freedom of speech is.
I don't think that's funny in light of anyone's children. But I also think that's like a personal attack. I don't think that that's someone's job. I don't think that that's someone being funny.
It's pretty brutal. It's brutal. And, you know, as a Stern listener, I actually would be laughing at that. So, I mean, the people who understand the show recognize Howard as a comedian, and even in insane statements like that, realize this is, he's colorfully expressing the extent of his anger. I mean, if you gave him I mean, I know, and anybody with half a brain knows, if you handed Howard AIDS in a needle and pulled the guy in the room and said, go ahead, inject Howard, Howard wouldn't even drop the needle in a second. The point is, he's trying to express just how angry, just how hurt and how hateful the kind of hate he has for this guy. Should he be able to say that? Yeah, he should be able to say it. Should people take it seriously? No, they shouldn't. Are there people that do? Unfortunately, that's the real problem.
Yeah, that's a great quote. I would have said it myself if I had thought of it. I probably would have said it. But, you know, if I was drinking beer and all drunk, or just if I was on the radio, I would have said it too.
Mel Karmazin, or whoever was responsible for allowing Howard to remain on the air for 1 second after that statement was made, for 1 second, has performed a great disservice to an entire generation of people who listen to radio, look to it for entertainment, because if they believe that that is the right way to do it, then we are in deep trouble.
I'm not here to defend him. He says a lot of things he should never say, but that I know he don't mean to kill and give people AIDS. That's terrible. And again, that's going to eat him up when his kids hear about that, and they'll throw it to those kids. You know, that's sad. That's sad. He doesn't understand that. And let me tell you what I believe. I believe his mother and father are ashamed of him. I really believe that. There are certain things that he said that they're ashamed of him, but they can't do it, and it's too late. He's already gone and done what he's done already. He's had 2 big books. What's his mother finally say? He says, hey, shut up. You like to eat? You like to play tennis? That's all, so they can't say nothing.
Self-proclaimed king of media, Howard Stern, Howard Stern. Self-proclaimed king of media, Howard Stern, Howard Stern. Self-proclaimed king of media, Howard Stern, Howard Stern. Self-proclaimed king of media, Howard Stern, Howard Stern.
In a democracy, we have a sense that we are worthwhile people, and worthwhile people have morals, they have values. There is a feeling, and rightly so, that we are more than just our animal instincts, that in order for a society to flourish, there has to be a certain number of rules. And the golden rule, do unto others as you'd have others do unto you, seems to be something that most societies have that are not dead-end societies that don't disappear off the face of the earth.
You think that over the last 20 years or so there's been a moral decline in our society?
Collapse, not a decline. It's a complete collapse.
It first came to my attention, and I think it was actually getting started then as a wave, as a big deal, capital B, capital D. In the middle and late 60s, over the years, I've hosted 3 separate talk shows, The Tonight Show and then 2 others after that. And in the golden age of television comedy, the 1950s, we just laughed at those wonderful, funny people, Sid Caesar and Jackie Gleason and Red Skelton and all the others. and they never did anything even vaguely vulgar. They didn't want to. There was no popular demand for it. It never came up as an issue or a question.
Oh, I'm in the majority. I very much believe that there most undoubtedly has been a moral decline.
But in the late 60s, since I was, as I say, hosting a talk show at that point, I began to notice that our show internally changed not at all in that regard, but guests began to come on and, to use very simple language, talk dirty.
I think to some extent the media is honest in saying that they have only reflected that decline, but the media is too powerful in this society to not have contributed to it.
And such problems tend to grow grain by grain, and finally the whole mountain falls down. It's not that they started on January the 4th. They get away with something on January the 4th, and somebody else sees that and says, well, I can say that. See, I just said hell. So it's little bit by little bit that the great harm is done.
Moral standards? There are none, except on Sundays in the church and on Saturdays in the synagogue. There's no such thing as a moral standard.
In the 1960s, it was a very revolutionary period anyway. People who lived in the freest country in the world, the USA, began to rebel, asking for more freedom. And they got it, and we can see what they did with it. Some of them should be ashamed of themselves.
What'd you say, morality?
The media has not become morally irresponsible. The individuals who utilize the media have become morally irresponsible.
There's no world of entertainment. Today everything is like, you know, whatever you want to say, you just say it. Whether it's funny or not, people just say what they want to say. Values have changed. The country's going into the toilet.
That's I could do 10 minutes on morality. That's a good sketch.
I don't think morality is down in the world. I think our consciousness of how we perceive morality changes. I think as we grow more intelligent, and I think we do grow more intelligent, I think we understand the various uses of morality as a weapon and as a crutch.
How many times do you use a four-letter word? I use it once in a while when I think it's right, not for shock value, for an acting situation. That's what I use it for. But somebody's getting to a point that they can get away with anything, and it's starting to show.
What's good about Stern is that he exposes the ludicrous nature of the ratings war, that the more bizarre and outrageous you are, the more you are given lucrative contracts and given a broad audience. So from those of us that have a hard time explaining it to people, Stern personifies that. What's bad is that he's vile and vulgar. James Brown, who's very close to me, got me to do his show twice. And Stern is not serious about anything. Stern is serious about ratings and selling books and all of that. And I think that that's what I take Stern as. Stern is a successful joke, and I think he's an embarrassment on the media. And the reason I don't fight Stern like I do Grant is because I think that Stern represents all that we try to say, and that is that American media culture has gone so low to a guy like Stern has a broader audience than someone serious, whether it be William Buckley or whether it be Ralph Nader. And I think that Stern is a state of the affairs of the American media phenomenon.
Do I think Howard Stern is tasteless? Sometimes he's tasteless. Do I think he does things that are sometimes sadistic? Yes, he does. He does have a right to do that. He's an entertainer. It is his form of entertainment.
Again, I think if Howard Stern were doing a nightclub act with consenting adults in our society, I mean, there still might be a few criticisms of some of this nonsense, but from a First Amendment perspective, I think he'd be probably within his, fully within his rights.
Whether or not people choose to listen to it, whether or not they choose to allow their children to listen to it, is a matter of personal responsibility.
But it's because he's chosen a broadcast medium which goes into virtually every home in the United States of America. And contrary to what the defenders of this garbage say, no parent, even if the only concern was children, cannot control every child 24 hours a day, and we all know that growing numbers of children don't have the kind of parents that are responsible to provide that kind of supervision.
Big deal. What does Howard do? Maybe use a few four-letter words? You think these kids haven't heard them anyway? If they haven't, at least they should.
I think he's really funny, actually. I think Howard Stern's funny, too. I think it's hilarious.
You do? The reason why these four-letter words are shocking is because the vocabulary is being suppressed.
How old are you? 14. 14. 14.
And you listen with your youngster to Howard Stern, and you let your youngster talk about what he or she's getting out of it and how they feel. Because the only way you can make grown-up judgments is to be exposed to things of all kinds.
I think nighttime should be a certain kind of entertainment, daytime certain kind of entertainment. Things should be taken away from children that they're not supposed to know. Years ago, here was a cliche: children should be seen and not heard. I don't want my kids involved in adult business.
Is Howard Stern's book carried in any high school libraries?
I wouldn't know.
These are children. They have to mold their mind. These kids become dead on the brains. That's the sad part. We got to treat children as children. Kuchi, 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 kuchi. I don't see that no more.
Would you be for or against that?
You know, I think it's up to the high schools to make that decision. You know, I'm not in the business of education.
We have never before been, as a people now, Americans, in a state where there is massive profit in every form of vulgarity and pornography, and in which we are not talking about human weaknesses. We are all weak, we are all sinful, but vulgar, vile, sickening behavior of which the perpetrators are proud and are proudly marketing and expect to be respected for the very evil they do. It's tough enough to get respected for the virtue you do in the world, if any. But when people are proud of their depravity and defending it philosophically and hiring people to defend it for them, publicists, lawyers, etc., you are in a very sick society.
Have you ever heard of Howard Stern?
Yeah.
You ever listen to his show?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
A lot?
Well, particularly with Infinity, I would never tell anyone to write a letter to Infinity Broadcasting. I think they have evidenced for years an absolute total indifference to the well-being of the community as a whole, and particularly to the children, the teenagers, to listen to this guy. The only thing that, in my opinion, matters to Infinity Broadcasting is the buck. And they have made an awful lot of money on Howard Stern. And community responsibility, social responsibility, in my opinion, is not part of the corporate plan of Infinity Broadcasting. It will be interesting to see whether Westinghouse, which at least historically has had a far better reputation than Infinity, will follow the profit-only motive, the community and the children of this country be damned approach of Infinity.
You ever hear of Howard Stern?
Yeah.
You ever listen to him?
Yeah, sometimes.
You like his show?
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, what do you like about it?
I like his jokes and stuff.
How old are you?
I'm 11.
What are the best 3 words you could use to describe his show?
3 words. He's really cool.
I'm originally from New York, so I started listening to him when I was in about 8th grade when he was on WNBC in New York. And then I moved down here about 5 years ago, and I was real excited when I heard he was coming down to be on Richmond radio.
About October 4th, he came over the airwaves in the morning, and I happened to be driving a carpool and had a van full of children and was just skimming through the radio and came across his broadcast and about drove the car off the road.
When he came on the air here in Richmond, I mean, I listened to him pretty much every day. Whether I was working the day shift, I'd listen to him at work. If I was working the night shift, I'd get off at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'd start listening to him, listen to his whole show before going to bed.
As the days rolled on, Richmond became divided on the Stern issue. Citizens for Better Broadcasting, a neighborhood group formed to remove Stern from the airwaves, increased their activity and began monitoring Stern's program and sending excerpts to advertisers.
One of them was, get off the phone, bitch, get off the phone. Can you lay on the floor and get naked and put your legs over your head and lick yourself? Exact quote. I might be off a word or two. And, you know, people just would look at me and say, you're not allowed to say that on the airwaves. And it was said, and here's the time, call the radio station up, make them play the tape if you have any questions. And that really moved a lot of people, and that's pretty much what we've done since, just hear the quotes. Is exactly what is said. And, you know, you don't have to believe me, you can find out for yourself and then make a decision.
A lot of mornings, my buddy Jimmy, he's a bus driver, so there's a lot of days he'd be off during the week too. When I'd be off in the mornings, he'd come over in the morning. He'd get up when his wife got up for work and come over to the house, and we'd sit around, listen to Stern, and hang out.
Although contacting advertisers was proving successful for the Citizens for Better Broadcasting, many companies ignored the group, and it became apparent that there definitely was a part of Richmond who not only enjoyed Stern's show, but also didn't agree with the group's approach.
I would have, you know, been happy to just turn the dial if I thought that he would just go away that way. But I think that you have to stand up and refuse to tolerate certain things in your community. And Richmond is a conservative community. It's a great place to raise your children. Radio is free and it's abundant, and it's in shopping malls and hair salons and businesses throughout the community. And you can just turn it off in your car, and you can just turn it off in your home. You can't turn it off in the carpool's car. You can't turn it off, you know, when you don't know it's playing. And I just think that we shouldn't have to do that.
Matter of fact, my wife, when he originally came on the air, she'd heard a lot of bad press about him and couldn't understand why I was listening to him. But I had every radio in the house, every radio in the car tuned to him, that she'd get up in the morning, turn on the radio, and she started listening to him, and she really got to like him too.
We did hear that a lot. We'll just change the station, and it's still saying to my children it's acceptable. They think that if it comes over the free radio airwaves, that this is the norm, that this is something that's going to be acceptable. And I did not want to send that message to my children.
Oh, definitely. I'd let my children listen to Stern, because there's really not, every once in a while he might go out somewhere, you know, where it may be not appropriate, but for the most part, you know, I mean, my kids, the way I'm going to raise my kids is that, you know, they're going to know what's going on in the world. The way I was raised, you know, or I wasn't sheltered from it. I listened to him as a kid. I was 12, 13 years old when I started listening to him. So, you know, there's nothing really that he does that I wouldn't want my kids exposed to.
In addition to contacting advertisers, Citizens for Better Broadcasting began to send transcripts and tapes of Stern's programs to the FCC to bring indecency fines against Infinity Broadcasting and WVGO, the station airing the program.
The other thing that I found offensive was the fantasy rape sequel that he did about this whole big drawn-out thing about fantasy rape, and saying that that's what women really want, is to be raped, and that they think it's exciting and fun. And, you know, again, I would challenge him to go down and I've said to people who've said it's just funny, he was just kidding, and I've said, well, I'd encourage you to go down to the crisis center, you know, where these women are hiding out for their lives, and look them in the eyes and tell them that you think it's funny. And I venture to guess that they're not going to agree.
I think he's a genius, because I think personally that he's an extremely smart man, and what he does and the way he does it, and to be as successful as he is with what he does, you've got to be a genius.
After months of protesting, Citizens for Better Broadcasting began to make serious headway. More and more people were coming to their side, advertising revenue was down at the station, and Stern's ratings began to drop. WVGO took action.
A lot of people will say to us, you know, it's First Amendment right. it's his First Amendment right to say what he wants to say and that kind of stuff. But for some reason, we don't have a First Amendment right to be opposed to it. And when we first started to gain some attention, apparently the station that the previous owners were in a real bind trying to get advertisers, and we'd apparently really had a serious effect in the community. And so they retaliated by broadcasting our names and telephone numbers on the air throughout the entire day.
Probably one of my favorite parts of the show, actually doesn't do it so much anymore, is his Fart Man character. I remember one time he called up, I think it was the, where was it, Libya. I think it was the Libya embassy, and threatening to take care of Gaddafi as Fart Man, by blowing farts and everything else like that. I mean, that's another one of his funnier shows. I mean, he calls up, and this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And Howard is going, I'm going to blow you out of the sky with my farts. And it just fart sounds and everything else like that. I mean, it's just the funniest thing.
So our telephone, we had a voicemail box, was just jammed with fanatic calls. We had death threats. We, in fact, had a threat from a gentleman that was later arrested. Oh, excuse me, he was picked up at the governor's mansion with a gun, had just gone by security. And he was, when they went to put him in the police car, his final statement to the camera was, Howard Stern is the king of all media, as they carted him off to jail. And we had received a phone call from him earlier that day saying that, you know, his boys from New Jersey were going to come and get us, and really, you know, threatened our lives.
Less than a year after the Citizens for Better Broadcasting was formed, Stern's fans received some very unfortunate news.
106.5 is now the buzz. Any questions?
At 3 o'clock this afternoon, that was the message that was heard, as 106.5 became the buzz. With the flip of a switch, Richmond is now left with only one alternative rock station and no Howard Stern.
Well, it made my mornings less interesting. I mean, I had, you know, I listened to him. There's not much on Richmond radio in the mornings to listen to. So, I mean, it took a big chunk out of my day. I mean, that was the highlight of my day, whether it was if I was working the night shift, it was the end of my day, or if I was working the day shift, it was the beginning of my day. I started my day with him.
The day he was taken off the air, I was in New York on vacation. It just sort of happened that way. And I came back and was driving to work the next day, and Howard wasn't there. You know, tried the dials, and he was gone. And
my listeners should have taken to the streets and started screaming, or they should have done like the LA riots. Just gone out and wouldn't that be great?
A buddy of mine, Jimmy, who he'd usually come over in the mornings and hang out, and we'd listen to the show. He came over, he said, all right, put Howard on. And I said, he's not on anymore. I'd seen it on the news that morning that they had pulled him off the air. And so we were sitting around, and we're like, you know, this all stinks that, you know, Howard's been pulled off the air. What are we going to do? We decided to start an organization called the Citizens for the Return of Stern. Started right there in the living room with me and my buddy. And I wrote up a press release and kind of got things rolling.
We've been in contact with individuals in different markets and are working with them to help them do the same thing in their area, giving them pointers, helping them with, you know, whatever they need help in.
We had about 40, 50 people together. We put out flyers. We got petitions going. We got advertisers, businesses who would be interested in advertising if Howard came back on the air. And we're still working on that, trying to get him back on the air here in Richmond.
We're currently trying to contact someone in every market that Howard Stern's show currently airs. And so far, we've been quite successful.
You know, what was a loss there. Fortunately, I'm able to, on clear days, get a station out of Norfolk that carries him, Norfolk, Virginia. And I could pull him in on clear days. But if the weather's overcast like it's been the last couple days, you know, I can't get him in.
Stern's removal from Richmond was not the end of the bad news for Infinity Broadcasting. In early 1997, the FCC began to investigate Infinity for airing indecent broadcasts in Richmond, including a segment in which Howard Stern gave the father of a pornographic film star pictures of vaginas to see if he could pick out his daughters.
Jackie said to me, you think her dad, if you showed him 5 pictures of vaginas, could he pick out his daughter's vagina?
Oh, dear.
If I could say one thing to Howard Stern, it would probably be keep up with the lesbians.
The only thing that I really have to say to Howard Stern is good riddance, and if you find a way back into my community, I'm not going away. I will be here to fight that battle again.
What are the best 3 words you could use to describe his show?
The best 3 words would be
Stern.
3 words to describe Howard Stern.
That's a hard question, I tell you.
Genius.
Provocative.
Tasteless.
Ruthless.
Nuts.
Outrageous.
Perverted.
Exciting.
Balls.
You never know what's coming up, and you never know what kind of questions he asks.
Cojones. And
cool.
Hurtful.
Liberating.
an outcast in a sense.
Thoughtless.
Hilarious.
Sensitive.
Pioneering.
Insensitive.
Intelligent.
And very funny.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind having some of my dad.
Can you give us your opinion on Howard Stern?
I think he's a genius. He's taken capitalism to a new level. A mixture of liberalism and conservatism, bringing with a taste of obnoxiousness. And he's not necessarily an idol of mine, but I have great respect for him because he's a businessman and he's manipulating his own tinge on a society to the way he feels that he can market himself. And anybody who can do that and make the American dream is just an awesome person, in my opinion.
I think that Howard Stern has the right to say what he wants. I think the fact that he's been making it lucrative says more about listeners and corporations that advertise with him than it says about him. If America was on the track it should be, Howard Stern would be the biggest failure on American radio.
Now, once you put the performer on, then, in my judgment, the only time that he should be fired is if he is not drawing the crowds that he is expected to draw. But not to be fired because people call up and they don't like what he said, no matter how horrible are the things that he said.
As long as somebody wants to say stuff and people are there to listen to it, it's legal. It's capitalism. That's all there is to it.
I mean, you can't discuss morality or integrity with a money-making machine. There's no such animal. You know, what's that word? It's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist.
Well, who's controlling the airways? I really don't know anymore. I just think that that if you are very controversial today and you can sell Kellogg's cornflakes, or you can sell Snapple, or you can sell any kind of a meat, they say put them on. Money. This country has product. Money and entertainment, and it stops.
The strongest word in the English language, and this is what this country has lived by, is greed. G-R-E-E-D. That's the moral standard. You know, I got mine, up yours, Jack.
There was the day when things were much different than they are today, of course, but only people who are old recall those days. I don't even recall some of them because I haven't been here forever. But in the sometime around 1920, there was a then famous motion picture comedian named Fatty Arbuckle. He worked mostly in silent films, and he was popular, successful. And then he became involved in a tragic case. A prostitute died after apparently having been involved with some sex party where someone, we don't know still whether it was really Mr. Arbuckle or not, employed a Coca-Cola bottle for sexual purposes, and the glass broke and she bled to death. A terribly sad story. Well, simply because Arbuckle was apparently present at the party and might have been the guilty individual, his career was over that day. I mean, nobody took a vote or, you know, wrote any memos back and forth. He was out of the business. Nobody stood in line demanding to see his pictures. The American people turned their back on him. The industry turned their back on him. Today, if that were to happen, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Fatty Arbuckle end up doing a commercial for Pepsi.
If there's money to be made, forget morality, integrity, forget that. It's not discussed. It's not discussed. It's how can we do better, the bottom line. That's it. That's it. Protect the investment. That's it. That's the name of the game.
I don't mean to lay the ills of the world at the feet of Howard Stern, certainly, or any shock jock, or any one individual. But the point at hand is that the money that this man makes is his only motivation. He's a very private individual, very quiet individual, I understand, outside of the studio. But when it comes to that studio or his career, bottom line motivation, he will say, do, act, wear anything to make a buck. And in my mind, that's his motivation. And I'm not saying that that's wrong, but when we look at the means towards that end of making the money, there are some means to making that money that I don't agree with. Everybody, you know, make as much money as you want to, as long as you're doing it the right way, as long as you're doing it legally, as long as you're doing it without hurting anyone, as long as you're not misrepresenting things. Go ahead and make as much money as you want to. But I don't think Howard Stern can fall into any of those categories.
Well, I don't know Mel Karmazin personally, but obviously he's had a long time to analyze, to think about, to question his own conscience as to why he's carrying Howard Stern and what are the benefits and the negatives of that. And it seems very clear to me, and I think to almost anyone else, that on one side you have profit and power and influence and a degree of fame. That's the positive side of Howard Stern as far as Mel Karmazin. And the other side is what most people believe is a very negative influence on the community, on children. And it seems clear that Mr. Karmazin has weighed the balance and said that money and personal fame and fortune is what's important to me. And he's made a decision to not only carry Howard Stern in New York City, which is of course notoriously liberal and with little or no social conscience to begin with. That's certainly part of our reputation here. I don't think completely true at all, but he's spread it all over the country. And if he could get away with it, I'm sure he'd bring Howard Stern to every hamlet in the United States. And the way things are going, he may succeed in that task. I sure hope not.
He's a brilliant social satirist. Howard Stern has a huge audience because people respond to his brand of humor, and he has lasted as long as he has because he is a brilliant social satirist.
How do you think Howard Stern's going to be remembered, say, in 100 years from now?
I think he'll be remembered as being original, one of a kind, a trendsetter.
I think if people want to look back at late 20th century America to understand it, they should read his books. They'll get a good taste of what it was like to live now.
You know what he's like? Howard Stern, he's like cotton candy, you know? You ever get it? And you eat, well, it was good. And, well, what happened? It's nothing. Where did it go? You eat cotton candy? Howard Cotton Candy Stern.
I think overall Howard Stern Show does promote intolerance. I think, although he would be the first one to say, no, it doesn't, because I have all these different kinds of people of different backgrounds listening. But no matter how funny I think he is, the underlying note on his radio show seems to be an anger. There seems to be a lot of hatred going on.
We don't know who's out there listening to these shows. Millions and millions of Americans tuning in and having their heads filled with anger. You know, and then you lose your job and you have your head filled with anger. And, you know, that's a recipe for disaster. And at the very most, and at the very least, it's a recipe for a real sort of stifled political climate where there's ideas that are simply not part of what's acceptable. And I find that's pretty troubling.
I think the overall effect is to promote bickering as opposed to a kind of harmony. And in that respect, I think he uses his radio pulpit wrongly. People with that kind of broadcasting power could use it for something good and still be entertaining.
But ultimately, it's the American people that are going to decide what kind of culture they want to live in, what kind of culture they want to their children and grandchildren to grow up in. And if they want a culture that largely reflects the mentality, or lack of it, of Howard Stern and the pornography industry and the worst of the television and film and music industries, then that's a culture that they can choose.
What can I do for you?
Yeah, I'm doing a independent documentary film, and I just...
What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to leave now, and you're going to have to call and make an appointment. Right now I'm in the middle of doing the show, and I don't have any time to talk to you guys today.
I'm just wondering if you can make a comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit.
The truth is you shouldn't even be up in the lobby.
I know, but I'm just wondering if you can give me a comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit. Hello? Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit?
Hey, Robin. How you doing?
Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit?
You want to say something about Miami? We're from Miami.
Can you comment on the Debbie Tay lawsuit against Infinity and Howard Stern? Can you give us just one comment about the Debbie Tay lawsuit?
Why can't I get in today?
Can you give us just one comment about the lawsuit?
Help me out, Jim.
Go outside and wait out there. Come out there.
I just want to ask Howard one question.
So appreciate if you go outside and wait until it happens. Can we just get one shot of it without asking any questions at all? No, not right now. Just got to do a radio show right now.
So we just get, it'll only take 30 seconds. We just want one question.
Wait at the top over there, please. Appreciate it.
Can you ask, we just want to ask a question about the Debbie Tay lawsuit that was filed against Infinity.
Thank you. You want to go wait up on the top, please?
All right, can you ask me that?
Could you wait up on the top, please? I appreciate it.
All right.
Just ask you to wait at the top, that's all. Could you wait at the top, please?
Well, we paid money.
The car's not in there. The guy's in there, okay? I know the car's in there. Could you wait? Do you want me to call the police? Is that what you want me to do?
I just want to ask Howard one question about the Debbie Tay lawsuit.
I asked you nicely to wait up at the top, please.
Is there any way you could just ask me?
No, he doesn't want to answer any questions right now.
It's just one
He has a radio show to do right now.
Just one question about the
Could you
Debbie
wait
Tay
at the top,
lawsuit.
please?
So he's not going to answer?
No, he's not.